Hey you guys, welcome to today's video. A little bit different. I'm trying something different. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I realized today that I need to film a video, and I'm just a little bit busier these days, you know. I've got a newborn and I'm homeschooling two big kids, and I've got a house to keep up and all these things to do. I thought I've got this video really close up because I'm nursing, and I'm in a sports bra. Not exactly YouTube friendly. I thought I would take you guys around and film this video kind of as I go through the day. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's an idea that popped into my head because it's just a busy afternoon and I don't know if I have like an hour to sit and like film and fiddle with everything. Not that this video is going to be an hour, but you know what I mean. So I thought I would just sit down when I have moments, like I'm nursing right now right here, and just kind of take you guys along and answer little bits of this video as I go and see how that works out. If this video is awful and you totally hate this style, please let me know in like a nice way so you don't hurt my feelings. But I'm really happy to always get your feedback. It's super helpful. If this was a little more interesting to watch because it wasn't just me sitting in one spot, spot the entire time, also let me know that. And let's just see. We're just trying new things, right? It is a new year. Let's try new things. Okay, let me talk to you guys about postpartum. I want to give you guys a postpartum update. I did a baby update. You can go watch Zag's 1 month update. I want to give you guys an update of me being 1 month postpartum. I'm actually almost 2 months postpartum. We are 7 weeks tomorrow when I'm filming this. And I want to talk to you guys about my 40 days of rest a little bit, kind of give an intro chat to that. So I want to start off by answering a very basic question, like how has my postpartum been? And the answer to that is amazing. I know that's not a very typical answer for a lot of people, but you guys know I put so much work and effort into having a relaxed, gentle, beautiful postpartum period, and my work has paid off. If you want to go see my 40 days of rest video and how you can go about implementing 40 days of rest for your own postpartum, I will link that in the end card below, or you can go surf my channel for that. As a busy mom, I have multiple children, multiple ages. It is not easy. I have a lot going on behind the scenes. I am an entrepreneur for sure. I run several different activities. I'm always working. I feel like I've got a lot going on. So as somebody who is very busy, I'm here to say that it is doable to do 40 days of rest and still nourish yourself and nurture yourself postpartum. Sorry, we had a burp. We needed to burp. That's my bad, buddy. Sorry. Yeah, so as somebody who's like very busy, I know that's the biggest thing people say. I don't have time to do 40 days of rest. Like I couldn't possibly. I'm just here to tell you, yes, you can. Even like, you know, you can. You have time for what you make time for, right? So if you want information on like how a modern mom can make time for 40 days of rest, go watch that video. But back to my experience. This time it has been amazing. I've had very gentle postpartums because I've done some form of 40 days of rest for each of my postpartums, but this was the first time that I actually consciously dedicated myself to 42 to be exact, 42 full days of rest. There is a lot of sayings in multiple different cultures that says if the first 42 days postpartum will determine the next 42 years of your life health-wise, and there's so much truth to that biologically, just how your system works. There's a lot of, you know, in Chinese medicine and things like that that say health issues will arise in the mother, you know, 7 years after the birth if she didn't take care of herself postpartum. There's a lot of interesting reading about that type of thing. This has been such a beautiful postpartum though. It has been amazing. I am so grateful that I took the time and the dedication and the prep work to give myself such a gentle start. Now, it wasn't super easy for me the entire time because 42 days is a long time, 6 full weeks, and I am a very busy person. I'm used to being kind of on the go, so resting to that extent wasn't easy at all times, but I am now to a point in my life where I just understand how deeply needed that is and how necessary it is, and how being busy all the time is not a sign of success, and it is not necessarily a good thing to not be able to rest. it's not a good thing at all to not be able to rest. So that's something I've learned the hard way in my life. And so it was easier to be more patient and to give myself more grace and to just encourage myself to take the rest this time. So with the 40 days of rest, I focused in the beginning on nourishment, deep nourishment through food and drinks. And I had my husband home for 1 week and I utilized him being home completely. He took care of everything. I did not leave my bed. I did 5 days in the bed, 5 days on the bed, and 5 days around the bed for a total of 15 days near my bed or the couch. I made the exception with the couch too because, again, modern moms. So if I was going to go downstairs with the couch though, I tried to only do the stairs twice. So like once in the morning, and then once I went back up the stairs, I tried to not have myself come back down. You can also go see what I prepped for postpartum and for my birth, because I did a lot of things that helped me with that. Like my postpartum basket was super handy to have for things like that. So some things I noticed with this postpartum was I was completely relaxed. I was very stress-free, and my hormones were so even this entire time. They are still super even. I was expecting dips. You know, you expect like a big hormone dip, you know, on 2 to 5 days postpartum. That's usually when you kind of have this big like whew, and I never had that. I never had any really big emotions. I never had any baby blues. I never had anything like that. Now, part of this I chalk up so much to diet and nutrition, and I think that's an entire video on its own. I definitely want to talk about that because this has been such a different postpartum for me because of that. But the 40 days of rest, just the rest and not having to entertain guests and creating boundaries around a lot of areas in my life and just resting and like letting go of the rest of the house, having Cody take care of our house and keep up with my schedule. It just made everything so beautiful. Not only that, but it created this space for Cody to also enjoy postpartum in a way that he didn't, I don't think he wasn't able to the first 2 times. We had such a good plan in place that everybody knew what was expected of them. Everybody knew what their job was in the postpartum period. So like Cody knew that, okay, like he needed to clean and he needed to cook these meals and this is where they were, blah, blah, blah. And so everything was just very efficient. The kids knew what chores they needed to do every day like they normally do. Everybody knew what was kind of expected of them. And so it was just a very gentle time where we got like things would get done really quickly and then we would get family rest time. And so Cody got like really long cuddle sessions with the baby, and he got to enjoy this newborn phase, I think, a lot more deeply than he did the first 2 times. And I know this video is about me, but I feel like that said something as well. Like that's also an important thing to note. The 40 days of rest also really helped with the first like 5 days before, you know, when your milk is coming in. My milk comes in maybe like, I don't know, I'd say it's average. My milk comes in on day 3 or 4. So my milk ended up coming in on Christmas Day, and on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day we basically didn't sleep because he was I didn't sleep because he was cluster feeding, trying to bring that milk in. He was hungry, he's a big boy. And that really made that was really hard. But because I wasn't doing anything else, there was nothing else expected of me. I had meals coming to me. I was so deeply nourished through food that it gave me the energy I needed to just survive while I wasn't sleeping. And although that not sleeping for like 36, 48 hours was really hard, I think the only reason like we got through it with as much grace as we did was because I was so well nourished. Cody was able to help, and then when my milk came in, it was like it came in so well and so fully because I was not stressed, I was relaxed, and I was well fed. So in the very beginning it was just so good. It was getting harder for me to stay around my bed and just stay really well rested in the very beginning, probably, you know, closer to that 15 days, like the last 5 days in the bed, on the bed. The around the bed part was getting a little bit difficult. I was starting to get like that itch to like, oh, I should do more, but I really was like, no, Rainbow, you need to slow down and you need to be gentle with yourself. And it was just such a gift to my body and to my mind to take this time to rest. I have a very grumbly baby. The thing that shocked me the most, I think, about this postpartum is my hormone level. Like, seriously, I need to talk about diet to be able to like fully talk about how even my hormone level has been. But pro-metabolic eating, I think, is the biggest thing that like, well, my brewer's diet, I've talked so much about pregnancy. You can go watch my what I ate in a day, like 8 months pregnant or something. I talk a lot about the brewer's diet. I show you guys what I was using to follow that. It's just a pro-metabolic diet for pregnancy and postpartum. I'm still following that, but I swear I had the most like, I feel like I've always had really like easy postpartums where I wasn't, you know, too sore. You know, I healed really nicely eventually, and my hormones were pretty even, and you know, things like that. But this time was so incredibly different. My healing was so easy. Part of that, I think, was because I had a water birth. I stayed in the water and my birth was so gentle. I have huge like white coat syndrome and like issues with like I get super anxious in hospital settings, or you know, going to the doctor or the dentist. And so I think just not having that and just being in my own space was so beneficial to me and my mind that I was able to fully relax. Now, another thing with that is I practice breath work. I've been practicing breath work for years and years, as well as yoga, and I really cracked down on my breath work practice in probably like in 2021 into 2022. And I practiced it throughout my whole pregnancy, like this 2 main forms of breath work. And I used that in my labor. As you guys saw in my video, I was able to keep my face really relaxed, my shoulders were relaxed, and like I got a lot of comments about how you couldn't really tell that I was, you know, having contractions, or that it didn't like look like they were too painful or anything, just because I was so in my body and I was able to, you know, almost have an enjoyable experience with them. Because of that, I was able to breathe him out really gently, and we were in the water, and so I had no tearing. I had barely any bleeding postpartum. It was a really, really physically easy thing. I will say that this time, like, even though I didn't have any of that, the only thing I really had to recover from physically that it felt like was the pelvic discomfort a little bit from my SPD pain through my pregnancy. So my pelvis was just a little more stiff for a few weeks, and it took me probably the full I'd say at least 4 weeks before my pelvis felt normal again. But physical recovery was so much better because I was just resting so much. And where I was talking about food a little bit, I'm going to backtrack for a second. And being pro-metabolic, what that does, it makes your metabolism function optimally, and it evens out your hormones. I healed my hormones and my hormonal imbalances before I got pregnant through pro-metabolic eating. I had a hormonal imbalance, and my hormones have always been all over the place, and this was the first time I really got them in check. And oh my goodness, there was no baby blues. I usually even get, like, my version of baby blues is just like weepy gratitude, where I just like cry all the time because I'm so happy. And don't get me wrong, I still do that. That's normal. I still have some postpartum emotions, but even that was less. Like, I was just so even. I felt like myself. I just felt like, oh hey, I just had a baby, and I was just still myself after. And that was one thing that I found really interesting through my pregnancy, was I just felt like I was just pregnant. I wasn't hormonal, I wasn't crazy. I kept checking in with Cody, being like, hey, I'm not grumpier than normal. Am I, like, did my personality change? And he was like, no, because I felt like the first 2 times I gave birth, in my pregnancies, my personality kind of changed, and I was grumpier and more irritated, especially the first time. So it was really lovely to get his perspective too, to be like, no, I was as even as I felt, and I just felt even is a really good word for it. I felt so even, and I still do. And one thing with the food and my hormones being even and my body just being really well nourished, one thing I noticed was I did have he's so grumbly. He's just falling asleep. One thing that was a huge thing was my hands and feet were warm. And that's a big indicator of a sluggish metabolism and maybe imbalanced hormones, is having cold hands and feet, poor circulation. And this time postpartum, my hands and feet were so warm, and that's how I knew I was still maintaining a low level of stress and a good metabolism even just days after giving birth, because I was just so cozy and my body was like warm and nourished. And that's a really good thing. You're supposed to keep yourself really warm postpartum. And so that really helped. And also I was really scared that I was gonna have really severe cramping this time, because you know that the cramping you get after you give birth, usually you don't get any with your first baby, sometimes you do, and then usually it gets worse with every baby. And so the third time I was like, oh, because it was bad with Grayson, and I was like, oh no, like I'm kind of scared of how it's gonna feel with the third baby. I was using a tincture, a herbal tincture to combat the cramps, and that worked wonderfully, but also they were just so much less. It wasn't that bad. It was not anywhere close to how it was with Grayson, and it was gone a lot faster than I expected. So that was another perk. Again, I have so much that I could say about like how diet and breath work and all this kind of stuff impacted my experience. I would love to do another video and talk more in depth about that. So if you have any questions, please put them down below and I will save them to answer in a video like that. And something else I noticed was because everything was so well balanced and I just rested, I barely even like I didn't even bother wearing my watch, because like I wouldn't have even gotten steps. Like I was just a potato, and it was the best. I would walk to the bathroom, you know, and if my body really wanted to, I would do like a little wander around the bedroom. But I really just honored my body and rested. And then once I was done my 15 days of like being around the bed, that's when I allowed myself to go for a little walk down the street outside on a really warm day. And just I really listened to my body. But the thing I noticed was only like a week postpartum, my stomach had completely shrunk back down to almost what it looked like before I got pregnant, which was very surprising because it happened very quick this time. I started this pregnancy at the heaviest I've ever been, because I had a lot of healing to do. I gained a lot of weight. Naturally, I was really thin before. So naturally, I did gain weight as I got older. And then I was vegetarian, and that really wrecked my health for a long time. And that caused a lot of like bloating and weight gain. And I was still kind of working through that. Like I hadn't gotten rid of that yet when I got pregnant. Even though I had healed my hormones, I was focusing more on internal health before I got pregnant than I was on external. And so I really wasn't sure what my body would look like after having this baby. I wasn't sure kind of what I would experience, and I was really surprised how quickly my stomach shrunk and my uterus went back down, and my skin elasticity was great. And I was, not that this matters at all, and I'm only saying this to kind of prove a point that you don't have to move and get back to active life. Like if you just deeply nourish, this can happen. Because I really hate bounce back culture. I think it's toxic as hell. But I was back to my pre-pregnancy weight 1 week postpartum. So that was really crazy. Now I haven't lost any more. I'm still just sitting at that because I'm breastfeeding. I eat like 3,000 calories a day to maintain my milk supply and, you know, pro-metabolic life. I talk about that on my Instagram often. But that was something that I found very interesting too, was just the fact that my body really reacted differently this time. And I definitely chalk it up to being so conscious about my postpartum rest and then my diet as well. And to be fair, this was even with convenience foods, because we weren't making, like I wasn't making my sourdough every day. We weren't eating this like farm to table or even like close to our normal stuff. I still had a freezer full of convenience foods that Cody was making, and it still was good enough, and it was still nourishing enough that that rest period made such a huge difference. I would say my body's response to this postpartum has been the best yet. I'm standing here at, again, almost 7 weeks postpartum. I have no discomfort. I have no soreness. Like, I can't explain to you how normal I feel. And I know it is because I took it so gently in the beginning. Now, that doesn't mean that I hit 42 days and now I'm like back up and running and going on huge walks and stuff. Like, I'm opting out of an activity happening next week because it would require me to, you know, do like a 20-minute walk. And I just know that might just be a little bit too much for my body right now to have to be somewhere on time and to walk there. And so I'm not gonna do it. So it is important to still gently ease into things after, but I know that I would be in such a different position if I hadn't have taken those 40 days. And it's like the fact that like this postpartum has been so different and so much better and so much more positive even than my previous 2 positive postpartum experiences. It just is such a testament to what 40 days of rest can do for the body. And really, like, I had said this before, that like 40 days seems like so long, but in the grand scheme of things, what is 40 days when your postpartum, you know, is a year long? It goes by in a blink, you know, those newborn days go by in a blink. And I don't feel like I missed them, which is another thing. Everything was so slow and so conscious that I don't feel like I missed out on days. I don't feel that like, oh, it's happening so fast. No, don't get me wrong. I do feel that way because kids grow so quickly, and the newborn days just, especially when you have big babies, they just pass very quickly. But I don't feel that panic like I missed it, or I missed things, or I was too busy doing other things to pay attention to it. That was so important to me, to make sure each of my babies got this sacred piece of me, this bonding, this one-on-one, like, full committed love. And I think that wouldn't be possible for me to do if I didn't take rest time after with each of my children. And it's so important that the 3rd baby gets the same experience the 1st baby got. Now you can't have the same experience, but you know, like in terms of commitment and how much time spent, I really, really strive to make each of my children get all of me. Like, as you can see, I want to show you my tummy, but I'm in a wrap. But yeah, physically, like, I'm pretty much just back to my normal self. Things are a little squishier, but like, that's just to be expected. But I was just so surprised with just how I just feel healthy. I feel strong and I feel healthy, and I feel mentally and physically capable to just continue on with my life without exhaustion, without needing extra coffee, without like, oh, really have 3 kids now, like without that fatigue that is often associated with adding more children to your family. And overall, I just think my 40 days experience has just been so nourishing. And I mentioned this in my pregnancy video when I was talking about the first 40 days, but the spiritual experience that I've had in these 40 days, I feel like I have grown spiritually as a person, as a human, so much. Like, I feel like I just created space for so much expansion in my life. A lot of things have happened for me in these 40 days postpartum, like in my life, expansion in my personal life, in friendships, in career, in things like that, that I didn't think I would have had the capacity to take on, but they've just naturally evolved. And because I took such good care of myself, I feel like I have the space to balance it all, to welcome it into my life and take things on. It's like the saying, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup, or once your cup is full, then you can pour into others. But it's deeper than that because it's spiritual. It's this deep love for myself, this deep nurturing and caring experience that I've given myself. And I should say too, there's another layer where it's like, I feel so connected to my husband. I feel like with every baby, I'm more connected to my husband, but because we had this rest time, and not only was it rest for me, it does turn into rest for the family, that like going back into normal life wasn't so hard. And it's just been such a smooth transition. And I feel just this deeper relationship with my husband, and this deeper connection and this deeper love, because we've gone through this new experience and we faced it together and we're just closer. And that's really beautiful too. I think my biggest takeaway and my biggest difference between my 3 postpartum experiences was this mental clarity this time. My body, my hormones, oh my goodness, my hormones are a huge one. Like I just don't feel like I'm not myself. I don't feel baby blues. I don't feel depression. I don't feel very weepy. Like, yes, I have weepy moments. I am more sensitive, but I am more sensitive to the fact that I am more sensitive, and so I'm honoring that. And again, just creating space for that extra sensitivity to be held and to be honored. And even though my body, I say my body is very good at experience. Like, it's not easy for me to go through postpartum, to go through pregnancy. Those things aren't easy, but I say that my body is good at them. My body is good at coping, and I'm so grateful for that. But despite my body's ability to be good at coping with these things, like giving birth and growing a human, I just feel so well-rounded and whole this time. And even though I took gentle postpartums before, I didn't quite, it took me longer to feel whole again. It took me longer to adjust mentally to having another child, to balancing everything. I felt overwhelmed at times, and I just haven't experienced that this time. I feel natural. I feel like this is an easy adjustment. I feel confident. I feel like I know who I am. I feel like I haven't lost myself in this process of having another baby. And that is something that is like just a huge difference. And it blows my mind, because I did take the time to be conscious and gentle in my other postpartums. But this time I, did like 40 days of rest. It has a name. I did a method, and the difference it has created is just, I can't explain it. I really couldn't stand here and explain it to you guys. And then obviously there's this big difference of the physical health. I just feel healthy. I feel so much healthier than I did before. I don't feel cold. I'm warm. I'm circulated. My hands and feet are warm. My circulation is good. My skin is clear. I'm not breaking out. I have no postpartum acne. I don't have weird postpartum BO really. Like, yes, like sweat increases, but it's like wasn't as bad as my first 2 times. I'm not getting I didn't have any night sweats. Still haven't. I don't feel like there's this detoxing happening in my body from like detoxing of the pregnancy. I just feel like slowly things are healing, and it just feels like this just gentle flow. And so physically, and then just obviously like my womb feels well cared for. I don't know. There's no like pain, there's no discomfort, there's no ache, there's no tension. It's just healthy. It feels good. I feel good. Okay, I wanted to answer a couple of questions just really quickly. I got 2 that I want to talk about from my Instagram stories. If you guys have any questions, again, put them down below and I will do another video. I want to go deeper. I want to talk about this more, but this video would be forever and so long if I continued. A quick question I want to answer is the trend that family outside of the home are not to visit until after the 40 days? So this person's just asking, like, is it the norm? Like, are we supposed to keep our family that's not part of like the immediate family unit away? I talked a lot about how I was creating a lot of firm boundaries with visitors. That was just me. So it's not that you need to keep people away. That's entirely a personal experience. If you have family that wants to visit postpartum, that you want to visit postpartum, the whole point is that like it needs to be something that feels good for you genuinely. And if you have family that would be really helpful to come over and that would actually care for you and contribute to the postpartum nourishment, then yeah, absolutely have that family over. But if it's just gonna be visits or pop-ins or like kind of just superficial visits where they just want to see the baby and stuff, like that is not nourishing to the mother. That's invasive. It doesn't feel good. So that's why a lot of people will create boundaries. Just depends on the family you have. Like if I had somebody that would come over and, put some laundry in and cook a meal for us and care for it while I just like was a vegetable and my boobs were out on the couch, I would totally have done that, but I don't have anybody like that in my life. I don't have anybody that I have that comfort level and that has ever like nourished me in that way, besides, you know, my own husband. And I do have a couple of friends that would totally do that for me, but they have their own families. It's just complicated, you know? So if you have family that is willing to do that and that you feel good having there, then I would say absolutely make that part of your postpartum 40 days of rest plan. For me and my talking about it, I'm approaching it from a very independent, I don't have help kind of approach, because that is my reality, and that has been my reality for my entire motherhood journey. I have the most support I've probably ever had now, but it's, again, I just don't have that unit of like helpers that would come do dishes and shop for me and like cook me meals and tuck me into bed. But if you have that, definitely welcome that into your life. Okay, and then I also got asked, what are the best foods to store in preparation? Okay, so this is totally your call. A lot of 40 days of rest, you will notice, is based in like cultures like India and Ayurvedic, that's how you say that, right? Methods of nourishing the body. That doesn't mean you have to eat like that. I combined that with like pro-metabolic eating and convenient foods because I needed that in my postpartum to make it work for me because I didn't have the extra help. I would definitely suggest looking into Ayurvedic foods. I hope I'm I feel like I never pronounce that word right. But there's a lot of nourishment in that kind of realm. Recipes for postpartum, things like that, that would be great. Like there's a mother stew and milks and nourishing things that would be great to just have, cook, freeze, prep, whatever. Those would be great foods. Best foods to store would be foods that are warming. That's the biggest takeaway. Warming foods for you with warming spices, warming herbs, and physically warm foods. You really want to avoid things that are too icy and too cold postpartum because, again, you want to generate that heat for the body and you want to generate that warmth to keep your body warm so that you can create milk and you can heal. Warmth is your best friend. So things that you could keep in your house and store would be like soups, stews. I ate curries. So I would encourage storing like that and things that just make your life easier. So whatever freezer meals you can prep that taste good for you, sound good for you, are normally part of your diet that you enjoy and that are easy to heat up or cook if you don't have help, would definitely be something to stock up on. Another thing to stock up on would be good teas and drinks. And then of course, nourishing snacks that are convenient. So if that means everything homemade that you freeze and defrost, like muffins and all that kind of stuff, and you want to do that, go for it. But again, don't overwhelm yourself. Make it something that is normal for you. So like if you want to stock up on like Lara bars or whatever, granola bars, applesauce pouches, whatever you want to do to keep yourself fed and happy. Fruits, those are really easy. So I would just say focus on warmth and ease for your postpartum food stock. Anything you can make ahead of time would be great. Like I did things like I froze bread so we wouldn't have to go to the store as much. And then we also had easy convenience food where Cody would just have to make a pot of rice and a vegetable, and you know, we would throw like the meat in the oven, or like, you know, be it fish sticks or like whatever. I have a freezer full of that still, because not only was that helpful for immediately postpartum, but I still have freezer stock that is supporting me right now when I don't have a lot of time because the evenings are busy and he might not be comfortable in the wrap anymore. He might want to be stretching or nursing or having bath time or going to bed. So just things that create ease and warmth for you in your postpartum is my suggestion. Okay, you guys, this has been long. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please put them down below and I will be happy to answer them. I want to do another video talking about more details about postpartum because I'm just so passionate about this. I would love to create like I'm building a website, so maybe I'll do it on there, but I would love to have like a blog, some just place with a collection of information that you can access for free, that is having everything in one place to just kind of guide you through postpartum and 40 days of rest. But these videos are a great place to start, and they're easy for me to do right now. And I can kind of info dump on you. So any questions you might have or ideas of things you want me to make a video about within this realm of topic, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.